Welcome back to Teamtalk. As always, we're brought to you by Knife Capital and Think Room. Big thank you to Creative Carbon, and realized we were going to get so much interest in what's happening in the South African venture capital and entrepreneurial landscape. But we've had interviews from all of the sectors that we're invested in. We're now also going out and looking at some of the other areas, also some of the people who are putting money in alongside us in this space. Big thank you to the SASME Fund and the work that they do there. We know that this is all growing into bigger than just our little universe, with Grindstone moving into Africa and those kind of spaces, and virtual teaching becoming such a huge part of what's available to entrepreneurs. We're hitting a nerve, and we're on the right track. I caught up quickly with Andrea Obama. She's been on the show with me before with her fantastic data profit raise and the ups and downs of that journey. She's also been a big advocate for online learning and edtech platforms in the past. Let's have a little listen why and who else we've invested into in this space.
Well, we mentioned we were going to be lucky enough to chat to Andrea Obama, and she's joined me on the call now. Andrea, how are you? We are getting colder every day, and Cape Town, it seems, is getting a bit warmer. Is it still the case?
A bit warmer is good. No, it's actually very, very pleasant. And as far as I know, we are going to have a stunning weekend ahead of us. I mean, it's not weekend yet, but really looking forward. No, summer is here. So, yeah, all good.
Oh, I'm very jealous. You're very lucky. Now, I know I've caught you between meetings, and thank you so much for your time. I certainly won't take long, but I really wanted to get an appraisal. We've had you on the show talking about Data Profit and the founders and the whole process of funding rounds, etc. It's not the only arrow in your quiver. You've got a number of them, but in terms of portfolio management and other businesses in the Knife Capital portfolio, you've chosen a business in the edtech space, and you can tell us about that business shortly, but maybe give us your opinion on where edtech is. You know, has COVID been the accelerant we think it has been, and what is that space like for Southern African businesses at the moment?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think, I know that you're going to speak to SkillUps just now. So SkillUps, of course, is one of those companies, but let me talk about edtech in general. I mean, 2 years ago, I had to kind of go and look at high schools for my children, which high school to go to and enroll. So I went to this open days, and I walked around those schools, and I kind of thought some of them look like the school that I went to, like as if nothing has changed. Well, then COVID came, and I've watched my children now doing online lessons. And I kind of thought, wow, this is such a totally different world. I mean, here they're sitting in front of their computer. I mean, my kids were very, very lucky because they had a school that were fully equipped to kind of go and do this. They switched over to online lessons. So my children had every lesson, every morning they sat there at 7 o'clock, kind of listening to this. And here you are, we talk about online content, but it's not just the content, it's also how the content is delivered. Because you can't just kind of go and you need to have collaboration tools. How are you going to go and do this? And of course, you also need to have children and teachers who actually are, let's say, digitally enabled. Because, I mean, not everybody knows how to kind of go and use all those tools and everything. So I kind of sat there and I was like, it's really amazing how now education has changed. And I think COVID really was one of those accelerators. And now talking to a lot of children as well as actually teachers, I think the hybrid function is going to go and remain. I think even moving forward, and I definitely can talk about my children's school, they're going to continue offering both an online and a physical kind of present school. So I think it definitely, COVID has been one of those kind of things that really has fundamentally changed how education and therefore also how edtech is moving forward. Very, very interesting. I've never seen something changing so quickly within months.
Well, I've got a lovely little quote for you, and I know you present a lot to international investors and businesses looking at not only our funds but Southern Africa. Someone mentioned to me, I think the day before yesterday. In fact, I was chatting to your friends at Dach Invest and VC,
yes,
Rudy and Torsten and the team, and we spoke about necessity is the mother of adoption, not the mother of invention. And has that not proved true over this time?
100%. I mean, there was no other choice. I mean, you could really kind of go and decide, let's say as a parent, am I going to go and have my children lose out on 6 months of school whatsoever? Or am I going to go and embrace the fact that they actually have to go and do online learning? And with online learning, as I said, there come all those different facets to it. And I mean, unfortunately for my children, it was online learning and not 6 months of holidays. So no, 100%. I mean, adoption as a necessity, 100%.
And Andrea, tell us a little bit about SkillUp, which is a business in that space.
I think, yeah, absolutely. So SkillUp is a team of kind of highly passionate individuals who really understand the, let's say, education and education kind of moving forward. And I think for them, it was all about how can we kind of go and take this forward. So the first thing that they realized was that if you kind of go and have education, there's always a need to kind of go and have a bit more. So how can you going to facilitate access to tutors who can kind of go and help the child to kind of go and make sense of it all? Because sometimes it's just not enough to just go and be at school. Then as a next thing, they started understanding that just having access to a tutor is quite often not good enough. How do you facilitate this collaboration? And that's actually because they are very, very tech heavy kind of people. They started understanding that they had to kind of go and build a tool that can help tutors to facilitate the collaboration between them and their student by helping them to share documents, to together kind of work on the math kind of calculus or something like this. So they developed this. And then as a next step, they also started really understanding how important it is that even at a very, very young age, children have to kind of go and learn how to really go and work with the computer, and also as part of this, really kind of go and learn, for example, how to code. Because to be very, very honest, I might be able to go and help my children with some subjects, but when it comes to, for example, coding, when it comes to...
Oh, you're not alone there, exactly. That's a whole different language, isn't it?
It's a totally different language. I mean, there's nothing I can really go and do. I mean, even nowadays, my children come to me and show me how they're going to go and use my computer because, yeah, I just simply don't have it. So I think the SkillUp team is really one of a team of highly passionate people who understand where this journey is going and actually maybe understood it even before COVID. And COVID has in principle been their, to some extent, their validation, their proof of that they were right, that they were on the right trend. So I think they really understand and have built the tools that will help individuals, teachers, schools to really kind of go and be equipped to live in this hybrid world of physical kind of schools and kind of online presence. And I think that's really what they do.
Well, Andrea, a big thank you. I'm gonna be catching up with them shortly. I wanted to hear it from the VC's point of view. We're going to hear it from the entrepreneur's point of view. And as always, great to catch up. Thank you so much for giving your time in between doing all the hard yards out there for the businesses. Lovely to see you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, here we are working from home, but joined by Matthew Henchel. Matt, great to see you, bud. We've had a little quick catch up about the various bits of weather. London is getting very cold, but you know, Cape Town, London, these days it doesn't matter. And you guys, from a business that I knew as SkillUp only when we invested, when we joined you guys, you certainly know about what, you know, trends around the world with virtual meeting rooms and lesson spaces and teaching, etc. How's COVID been for you personally? We'll talk about the business in a little bit.
Yeah, for me personally, it's been, I think, just very grateful, right, to have a job, to have a place that was comfortable to work at home, to be quite used to and familiar with remote work. So personally, you know, I'm definitely on the end of being very lucky with how I've been affected from COVID. So not a lot to complain about there. Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. And I think, you know, it's come up in our conversations, you know, when we've done portfolio updates on Teamtalk in the week, we've spoken to some of the other entrepreneurs, but there's just been this huge boom in people having to connect without the physical connection. You know, we realize all of the intricacies of infection and virus and all that kind of thing, but you guys have been building, or your entrepreneurial journey has been in this space anyway, connecting people and learners, teachers, tutors, classrooms, etc., in a non-physical way, you know, and that's something you saw way before this all happened. Has it been a hurricane suddenly to try and reap while everybody else realizes, hey, they're onto something?
Yeah, look, there's, like, again, I just say there's a lot of luck and a lot of gratitude with where we've been positioned. We were trying to build a business, 3 years ago that could deal with COVID like this, stuff with the lesson space, Code for Kids, Room.sh that you have there. And, our journey has definitely been one of, you as an investor into our company and your team at Knife, it's been one of patience. When we started SkillUp 5 years ago, as you say, you knew us, we were very sort of sure about what we were trying to do, B2C industry in South Africa, getting tutors and students paid. But we very quickly realized, this is now 3-4 years ago, that we weren't succeeding as quickly or as to the magnitude that we wanted to there. So we started really betting on the online industry, the online world, the way to communicate online, like you have lesson space up there. We said our tutors were using Zoom and Skype and these things to have their online lessons. We said, well, can't we do that better? And so we had technically had a 1.5 year head start before COVID happened, and it's really accelerated our strategy in that regard. So for that, we've seen a boom. Other parts of the business have seen a decline, but for the most part, I suppose, working harder than ever.
And Matt, tell me about the journey. So what's the sequence of events? And I know, and having spent time with you're thinking out the box and you're wanting to innovate and you're moving stuff, but sometimes the practicality of just getting one thing in and done, turns into a project that really takes up your time. Which one of those projects has taken up more of your time or obsesses the team, and makes everybody want to go to work?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because it really cuts through the sort of the blessing and the curse of the world of like early stage entrepreneurship. And it's centered around that idea of you want to be as focused as you can. And it's always the advice I will give everyone that I might speak to, but we've done the exact opposite of that. We haven't. So a huge amount of it was, I suppose, an internal conflict with myself and the other founders about, are we balancing logic of what's actually the reality of the situation, or are we being completely ignorant and we are following our gut and perhaps a little bit too irrationally or with an idea that is going to be better than it is? Our journey started off, we saw something that wasn't working with SkillUp, and it was working. And I think that was the curse. It wasn't failing dramatically and it wasn't succeeding dramatically. Mm-hmm. And we probably let it pot on a bit longer. We probably should have far more quickly gone and changed and done something different. Yeah. But the reality was, can I just
jump in the middle there, just for viewers' attention. So SkillUp is matching tutors and kids needing extra lessons in and around, whether it's schoolwork or varsity work or courses that they're doing, et cetera. And you guys created a business, and the thesis was to encapsulate that whole marketplace to facilitate tutors being able to, one, have access to the people who needed it, and then kids or people or students have access to tutors for the bits that they were battling with. And that in and of itself is the extra lesson marketplace.
Correct. Yeah.
And when did you start to feel that part of the business, is it the telling more people about it? Is it the size of the market was maybe not big enough? Is it like, what were the levers that you started to sort of look at that you felt weren't facilitating your path to the outcome, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I think it was when we got the investment, the Knife investment. The thesis of the Knife investment was to say, we have a working model here in South Africa. Can we take our South African tutors and sell them overseas so we can earn in rands and dollars and euros and pay out in, earn in dollars and pounds and euros and pay out in rands, and we can make money there. And the reason we did this was parents and students told us, 7 out of 10 of them told us that the most important thing to them was affordability. So we made that our unique selling point. We took the lowest commissions, we had the lowest prices, but the second we started advertising these tutors overseas with the Knife funding, is we very quickly realized that even though people were saying that, 9 out of 10 parents or students weren't behaving like that. 9 out of 10 were not picking the most affordable tutor. And we found this double-edged sword. And what the sword was, it said, you've made low-cost education looks like low quality. That was the big learning. And on the other side,
just in on a price comparison. So
exactly,
it's almost like
same quality.
Saying, hang on, I need to knock the sides of the box here. Why is it cheaper than the next one?
Wow. Okay.
Exactly. And we weren't making money because, you know, we had the lowest commissions and it wasn't very unique. So that's when we realized there was a problem there. Low cost in education looks like low quality. We've realized that. It's a harsh but true. Yeah.
Okay, but you know, very fortuitously, you've got a background that makes you inquisitive anyway. You've been in this space, and you started to see other ways to facilitate tools that could you know, also target the same gap. So you didn't have to change the target market if you want, or the universe you'd operate in, but quite possibly different ways of doing that. So tell us more then about the evolution into lesson space and the other options.
Yeah, and it was a combination of a lot of things that happened. Well, the first thing was we were using an off-the-shelf piece of software for our tutors to conduct their online lessons, and the software was just letting us down. And we tried another one, and it just let us down. So being a team that was for software engineers, we said, well, why don't we build our own one? So we weren't winning there. We weren't sure what we're doing. So we started building our own software for these online lessons. And we gave that to our tutors, and our tutors loved it. And honestly, by luck, we triggered a Google alert. And that weekend, 4 American or North American companies contacted us and asked us if they could use our video conferencing teaching software. And we said, yeah, sure, that's quite easy. We opened up the API for them. And then we all of a sudden realized that these companies were paying us monthly recurring revenue. We were earning almost the same per hour as we were tutoring. And they loved working with us because we were a tutoring company. So we weren't a software company, we were a tutoring company. So they knew exactly what we priced it for them, we built it for them, they knew what we needed.
The connection is different. You're not selling a product versus a product. You're actually selling your expertise, you know, your understanding of how the market fits together, what their needs are. Okay. Exactly.
And a lot of our competitors are not built by original tutoring companies. They're built by software engineers. So we were able to do that, and it's got that. I think that's why it's grown so well in the last 2 years.
Okay, well, give us an overview. I mean, I've put a lesson space picture up here behind me for people, and as always on the cheat sheet, we put access to all the websites. We'll have your handles and LinkedIn and everything, so people will know where to find you. And that's one of the big shout outs. We say, please go and do your own research. We're not doing a TV show that's a once-off. We're doing something that people can then learn about entrepreneurship, the journey, what Matthew did, maybe reach out to you, understand the product, etc. So we've got that behind us. There's lists of features, pricing, customers, etc. How's that journey going now for you guys?
Yeah, like I said, this was one of the ones on the lucky end of the scale where it was growing pretty well, but pretty organically before COVID. And then it basically went through like a 20x growth in 2 months, which was just unbelievable. Yeah,
that's when you go to black rings under your eyes and not.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm pretty sure the engineering team didn't sleep for the first 3 months.
Wow.
No one in the company took a day of leave for 5 months. We actually didn't even realize. I think a big thing with COVID is you sat there and you weren't taking leave because you didn't really know what to do. So we all had to take some leave.
Okay, good. And you've rested up, but you're not one of those very restful types because you've gone and you've also launched another interface. I want you to tell us about that, and then I also want to learn for the viewers' benefit about Code for Kids and the impact you guys are having as well.
Yeah, sure. So we then also took all lesson spaces. It's video conferencing. It's like a Skype or Zoom, but it has a whole other layer to it that allows collaboration. So if you imagine a Google Docs plus a Zoom combined, but that Google Doc can be a whiteboard, it can be minutes, it can be a whole bunch of different things, as well as a document. And we were using this for our online meetings. And then we just decided to really just spin off a slightly different version of it, all built on the same software, and give it out essentially for free to most of our users. And it became a great way to test new features. So if ever anything was going out, it just went there. Obviously, what would happen with COVID, Room.sh also exploded in some way. We've had some really cool big partnerships happen because of it. We work with, I think, one of the biggest estate agent providers in the UK. So they have these 3D home viewings on our software where you walk through our house together, completely, white labeled. And yeah, so Room.sh has been an amazing experience. It's not something that we very focused on commercializing right now because it is quite a busy space and a very broad market. And Code for Kids is something getcodeforkids.com. Code for Kids is something we sell to schools. And we look at COVID as having a direct and indirect effect on our business. The direct effect has been the increase in lesson space and the sales there. The direct effect also was a big drop off of sales of Code for Kids. We really struggled to sell to a school because their parents weren't paying them. But we look at a really positive indirect effect of Code for Kids. Teachers are far more au fait with technology now. They're far more willing to buy something that's software. And Code for Kids is a way to teach coding, robotics, and IT to students grade 4 to 9. And you can already see that we're doing a lot of different things, and not to go into detail, but the journey dictated it. And it's all built on the same software, Room.sh, Lesson Space, Code for Kids. But with Code for Kids, we've got some teachers to build content on that platform. And it's a way that they learn real coding.
It's outstanding. I mean, and I think you're affecting, it's almost like an impact part of the business anyway, because South Africa needs entrepreneurial stimulus from all areas, and you want as many people to be able to code and to be able to understand. Like you said, the teachers are now becoming slightly more techie. If we can translate that to kids, across the spectrum in South Africa, can you imagine the new wave of entrepreneurs we'll find? I also want to say, there is a small lesson in your journey as well, is that people look at Silicon Valley CVs and browse through the pages and say, okay, where are your failures? In our experience in South Africa, because the funding is less, the market is smaller, the margins are tighter to keep going, to stay alive, to be a success, you've got to fail and succeed at the same time. So while a lot of people might, or you might say, oh, we're doing a lot of things and we didn't focus, it's still with the same software, it's still with the same team, it's still with the same people, and at varying sort of stages of success. And I think that in and of itself is also a positive. A lot of people are like, I went and we blew millions, on a project, whatever, pets.com, that fell apart, but then I launched my own shoe brand and look, I'm a billionaire. That's an easy road, actually, if you think about using somebody else's money to make mistakes. You guys are on a journey where it's tweak and change, fail super quickly, repair, start again, tweak and change, test, and work and going forward. And do you think that's something that's maybe unique to the South African sort of entrepreneurial universe or space?
Definitely. And I think you have such a close to the coalface kind of point of view of that because of where you guys are. And you're right, it's the fail fast mentality in South Africa doesn't work. You can't just completely fail. You sort of have to get it to the point where it's sort of surviving so you can try your next thing. If we went with this mentality of just burning through the cash, obviously proving that it didn't fail or that it didn't work, and then be left, down the river without a paddle, and you guys, it's not like another VC we can go to very easily who knife won't go, oh, well, these guys, they didn't, think very high, or they just went through our money. And it's because of how difficult the game is here, it's something that the partnership becomes, I think, quite a bit more personal. It's not like a sort of an anonymous VC that's giving you money and then disappears. The journey with Knife has been one of a journey, right? It's been a 5-year journey where, 4 years, and it will continue, or 3 years, and it will continue. And it has to be like that because, and that's why I say the thing that Knife has brought to us that's been the most valuable through this time is the patience. It's just trusting in the entrepreneurs. Like you say, the team hasn't changed. The industry hasn't changed drastically. We're just trying to find it. We've been able to fail in, like, I suppose, a slow kind of safe place. And that's not necessarily been a good thing, but it's been the only option we really had.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I know things have blown up during COVID and you guys have really stuck your heads down and got the work done. So we're proud of that, and well done for all the work that you're doing. I mean, I think, as the world opens up and starts to look and travel and see, we're going to get more international interest again, and looking at businesses that are actually affecting people, that are creating a virtual lesson space, a classroom, something that can impact, but with skills on the ground. South Africa is so connected to the vast majority of African people who wouldn't necessarily have had a tech or an IT background, but the hunger for it is there.
and I think your journey is one that is going to capitalize on that. And I love where the product is at the moment. So it was a quick check-in. It's always good to see you. You've got a sunny disposition. So I hope that my foreboding winter in the UK turns into a long visiting summer in SA, and we get to catch up soon.
Absolutely, Bob. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much, Brad.
Absolutely. Cheers.
What a great catch up with Matthew. I think one of the things that really stands out is the passion that he's got for the industry, the time and effort that he's putting into creating a global solution. Even coming out of Cape Town, operating with limited tools and resources, the scale and possibility of this business is one that keeps us very excited.
Okay, well, that for us is reaching the end of another show. Thanks so much. It's been an amazing opportunity to get the businesses out there in front of you, the entrepreneurs and what they're doing, and give you an overview of our involvement in the venture capital landscape in Southern Africa. The platforms might change, the people will interact, move in and out, but Teamtalk is going nowhere, and we're delighted that you're part of it. Thanks to all of the partners, in particular Creative Carbon, who put us onto the map at the very beginning, Thinkroom, Knife Capital, Grindstone, SASME Fund, and everybody else who sees this contribution as something that's imperative for the stimulation of the economy in this part of the world. It's something that's very close to our hearts, and we look forward to, remember, with the cheat sheet, to interacting with all of you, because all of the names, the numbers, the @ signs, the Twitter handles, and the LinkedIn backgrounds and profiles are there. And it's all because we need you to interact with us and find out more about what you want to hear from us on the show.